The sun beat down on the valley of Elah, where two armies faced each other from opposite hills. On one side stood the Philistines, fierce warriors dressed in shining armor. On the other side stood the Israelites, the army of King Saul, tired, nervous, and afraid. Goliath. Between the hills lay a wide valley, and standing in the middle of that valley was a giant. His name was Goliath. He was nearly 10 feet tall, covered in bronze armor that glinted like fire in the sunlight. A heavy helmet rested on his head, and a huge spear was in his hand. The iron tip alone weighed as much as a bowling ball. Every morning and every evening, Goliath stepped forward and shouted to the Israelites. "Choose a man to fight me," he roared. "If he kills me, we will be your servants. But if I kill him, you will be ours." His voice echoed through the valley like thunder. The Israelites trembled. Even King Saul, who was taller than most men, stayed silent in his tent. No one dared move. For 40 days, Goliath's challenge went unanswered. Back in Bethlehem, Jesse's youngest son, David, was still tending the family sheep. One morning Jesse called to him. "Take this food to your brothers on the battlefield," he said, handing him a sack of bread, roasted grain, and cheese. "See how they're doing and bring back news." David set out early, leaving his sheep with another shepherd. The road was long and dusty, but his heart was light. He loved his brothers and wanted to hear how the army was doing. When he reached the camp, he found soldiers lining the ridge, shouting battle cries. But then he heard it, a booming voice that made his stomach twist. Goliath was out again. "Who will fight me?" the giant mocked. "Are you all cowards?" David looked around. The soldiers' eyes were downcast. No one moved. No one spoke. "What's going on?" David asked one of them. "That man has been shouting at us for 40 days, the soldier said. "The king has even promised a reward to anyone who defeats him, but no one dares." David frowned. "But he's insulting the armies of the living God. Why doesn't anyone stop him?" His oldest brother Eliab overheard and snapped, "Why are you here, David? You just came to watch the battle. Go back to your sheep." David turned toward him, hurt but steady. "Is there not a cause?" he said quietly. He couldn't understand how everyone could be so afraid when God was with them. The smallest hero. Word spread quickly about the brave young shepherd who was asking questions. Before long, someone brought David to King Saul. Saul looked surprised when he saw the boy. "You can't fight him," the king said. "You're just a youth and he's been a warrior since his youth." David didn't flinch. "Your servant has kept his father's sheep," he said. "When a lion or a bear came and took one of them, I went after it and struck it down. The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the bear will rescue me from this Philistine too." Saul saw something in David's eyes, courage and faith, the kind he'd lost long ago. Finally he said, "Go, and the Lord be with you." He tried to dress David in his own royal armor, a bronze helmet, a heavy coat, a sword at his side. But when David tried to walk, he shook his head. "I can't wear this," he said. "It's not me." He took it off, picked up his shepherd's staff, and walked down to a nearby stream. Kneeling, he chose 5 smooth stones and placed them in his pouch. In his hand, he carried his sling, the same one he'd used so many times to guard his sheep. Then he walked out to face the giant. Goliath laughed when he saw the boy approaching. "What is this?" he roared. "Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks?" He lifted his spear and cursed David by his gods. "Come here and I'll feed you to the birds." But David called back, his voice strong and clear. "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel whom you have defied. Today the Lord will deliver you into my hands. Everyone here will know that the battle belongs to the Lord." With that, David ran toward Goliath. He reached into his pouch, took out a stone, placed it in his sling, and swung it through the air with all his might. The stone flew straight and fast, and struck the giant right between the eyes. Goliath stumbled, his great body shaking. Then he fell face down onto the ground with a crash that echoed through the valley. Silence filled the air. Then the Philistines gasped and ran. The Israelites shouted in victory, chasing them from the field. King Saul sent for David again. When he came before him, still dusty and breathless, Saul asked, "Whose son are you, young man?" "I am the son of your servant Jesse of Bethlehem," David replied simply. That day the shepherd boy became Israel's hero. But David didn't see himself that way. As the cheers rose and the soldiers lifted him up, he looked up toward heaven. He knew who had won the battle, not his sling, not his strength, but his God. Conclusion. Everyone saw how big Goliath was. David saw how big God was. Faith is bigger than fear. David wasn't a soldier, he was a shepherd. But God used him because he trusted. God can use anyone. Our greatest victories come when we fight with faith, not just strength. That night, as David lay under the stars again, he held his sling and smiled. The same God who had helped him face lions and bears had just helped him face a giant. And David knew, no matter what battles came next, he would never fight alone.